Hi everyone, my name is Becky Keene, and I'm an educator from the Seattle area of Washington in the United States. I'm a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert, like many of you, and I'm also a Microsoft Fellow in the United States for Region 1. I've been in this community for a long time, and one of the things I appreciate the most about this community is the opportunity to network and be a part of a group of educators who are passionate about the same things. I hope that you watch this breakout session and then remember to connect with me on social media, to share with me the things that you learned, your takeaways, so we can interact and connect together. That really is my favorite part of E2. So let's dig into the art of coaching colleagues. This is tough information. This is not easy. This is something that I have been working with to refine my craft over the past 15 years that I've been leading professional development and that I've been in the role of an instructional coach. Currently, I work for Insight to Execution, which is a Microsoft Global Training Partner based in the Seattle area of the US. In my capacity there, I help oversee hundreds of professional learning experiences a year, and in addition, lots and lots and lots of education content that's created for Microsoft and other partners around the world. The purpose of all of this content is to help facilitate change for teachers for the benefit of students. While I work with my team at I2E, school systems, partners, vendors around the world, my focus is always what's best for kids. So in this presentation, I'm going to be talking about some strategies that you can use to be that person in your school system, in your network, and in your community, where you are coaching your colleagues to move forward and drive change. So let's jump in. Here we go. What is a coach? First of all, oops, let's go back one. There we are. What is a coach? A coach is at first a guide, someone who gives information and a pathway to follow. A coach is someone who shows the way, who waves their little flag in front of the parade and says, this is the direction we need to go. A coach is also an encourager. A coach is someone who makes sure the people that he or she or they are working with are feeling positive vibes. A coach needs to be someone who knows how to give teachers what they need. I once took a teacher a milkshake because that's what it took for me to get this teacher's attention. There are lots of creative ways that we can make sure we are an encourager to others. The third thing a coach is a problem solver. If you are not helping others solve problems, you are part of the problem. We need to make sure that our coaches are people who can see the issues at hand and then make adjustments about them. The fourth part of great coaching is to be a collaborator. A collaborator is someone who works well with others, not only to guide the conversation, but also for interdependency and shared decision making. When we work together, we can really drive change. The fifth and final thing I will add here is that a coach is a listener. If you are in a school system, you know that teachers have an immense workload, so many stressors and things that are happening in their lives that are outside of, using a new tool on Friday. So you need to be a listener as a coach, someone who hears and absorbs their concerns so that you can show them how to really meet their needs. Okay, what are some coaching models? You can deliver coaching such a wide variety of ways, but here are 6 that I know that work just, around the world, across the board, and they come in different ways. So the first one here is conversations. You can be a coach simply by having a conversation, whether it's over a Teams call or in a Twitter group or in a Clubhouse meetup. You can have a conversation in a hallway or even in a store. These conversations are so important because it gives you the opportunity to communicate with your network. These conversations are what can drive change. So many teachers make a decision to try something new because someone had a conversation with them, not because they sat through an all-day workshop, but because someone they know and respect and trust told them a story. So think about the ways that you can be injecting yourself into those conversations with relevance and authenticity. Another thing that we do as coaches is we host training sessions. Now, this is not specifically a training model that meets the coaching methodology, right? Standing up at the front and delivering or hosting a webinar is not really coaching. What happens in a training session that is coaching is giving people time to personalize, to debrief, to discuss, and then for you as the coach to craft those conversations, to walk alongside someone and help them understand how they can affect change and do things better in their classrooms. So again, it comes back to conversations. Another thing that we can do is co-teach. So that's where we come alongside another teacher and we say, hey, let me do this lesson with you. Let me help work with your students. That relieves the load of the classroom teacher and allows you to show off a great way to do something. It allows you to be a collaborator and a problem solver all at once. If we take a step back from co-teaching, some of our colleagues need us to simply model. They need us as coaches to come in their classrooms, to join their teams calls, and be the one doing the work. And that's okay too, because it gives those teachers an opportunity to have a little break and to see great practice in action. It also builds your respect and relevance because now you've worked in their setting with their students and you know the challenges that come with that. Modeling is a really important part of the coaching practice. Another thing that we have to offer is data analysis. So for those of us that are really analytical thinkers, going to someone with data and showing them where you see gaps, where you see possibilities, where you would love to help them drive change can be impactful for some people. Be careful with this method. Some teachers will see this as evaluative or critical, and we don't ever want that. As a coach, you are never in that role. You are in a role where you can come alongside and support. So you might be able to sit next to the teacher and look at their insights tab in Teams, for example, and say, what's going on with student engagement? Why are so many students turning in assignments late? Who is missing class? What can we do to work with that information that's at our fingertips? And that does work for many teachers. The sixth coaching method that works for a lot of people is simply being a content provider. This doesn't involve any conversations. This involves creating stuff that teachers use and giving it to them to use. My friend and co-author, Kathy Krasnowski, is a gem at this. She's forever creating templates, resources, graphics, shareables, ideas, and then pushing them out for everyone to use. Slides Mania is another great example of someone who's just in it to help share. And if that's you, if you can create things that reduce the workload of your teachers and show that you understand what they need, that will win you hearts and minds. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the GROW model. The GROW model is where you take one step at a time with a teacher that you are working with to help them move the needle. GROW is an acronym, so I'm going to talk a little bit about each letter in GROW and what that means. Here we go. So the G in GROW stands for goal. When you're working with a teacher, the first thing you want to establish is your goal. You and the teacher should collaborate to come up with this goal. You should be determining what's most important, what they'd like to achieve, and then setting a measurable goal for progress and success. It is extremely important that this is measurable and reasonable. It is not useful, for example, to set a goal like, all my students will become digital citizens. That's not measurable. It's a huge step forward. It's something we hope for them lifelong. If you're wanting something very specific in your classroom, maybe you'd like your students to understand web searches so they can evaluate information in a better way. That's a smaller goal. We could even take that down a notch, right? You could narrow that all the way down to evaluating reliable sources online as a digital citizen. So setting a goal really clearly with your teacher that you're coaching is a very important first step. The second letter in GROW is reality. It's so important to ground your coaching in reality. I have sat in classrooms, I've talked over social media, I've traveled the world and spoken with educators, and everyone has a different reality. My buddy Neil Manigold calls it a snowflake setup, where every person is unique and their classroom is unique and their needs are unique. And so you have to validate that. You have to honor the challenges, the obstacles, the pitfalls, and also the positives, what they have access to or what they do not have access to. This is a critical part of the process because any teacher who feels like you have not identified their reality is going to brush you off as someone who doesn't get it. We need to offer that to our teachers and understand their demographics, their community, the challenges that they're having, even in their own personal lives. Maybe they're extra busy right now or had a family or dynamic change or a health and wellness concern. So honoring those things and bringing them to the forefront is critical in the coaching process. Let's talk about O. O is options. This is my favorite part of the coaching process. I love to get here. This is where we brainstorm. This is where we talk about what are the possibilities. Never stop with your first idea. Because when you iterate and ideate and think together and build a vision, those are where the true great ideas happen. It doesn't happen in one little brainstorm session. You might walk away and come back to the teacher and have something new or different to try. You might have to do some research. The teacher might have to do some exploring, set up a free account somewhere. These are things that are an important part of the process, and we should slow down. We shouldn't rush to solutions. Take your time and explore the options that are available to you. The W in GROW stands for will. Where there is a will, there's a way. You might have heard that saying before. If someone wants to affect change and really make something happen in their classroom, they have to have the will to do it. So as a coach, your job, part of your job, is to understand the person's will. How invested are they in this process? Maybe they're invested half an hour a week. Maybe they're invested the whole weekend. You need to determine what their level of will is so you can help define a path forward. Without determining that will, you might be setting yourself up for heightened expectations that someone can never reach. You might be setting yourself up for under expecting, and this person is, off doing amazing things and you're left in the dust and you want to be along for the ride. So understanding the person's commitment to what's going on is the final part in the GROW model. So let's begin. Let's say you've thought about the GROW model, you have an opportunity to coach someone. How do we start this conversation? Because at some point you're going to either over email or Teams chat or Twitter DM or in person or who knows what. You're going to FaceTime it, I don't know. You're going to have a conversation with this person, even if it's over email. And here's some tips for framing that conversation. The first one is to frame the situation, to express to the person that you understand what's going on and what are your objectives for working together. You might set a time frame. You might say, let's work on this project in the month of March. You might say, let's meet every week for half an hour. You might say, let's make sure we sync up every Monday morning for 15 minutes. We don't know what it is, but frame those objectives up front so that the person on the receiving end of the coaching knows when you're available, how you would like to be available, and what you really think it will take to move this forward. So framing the whole situation is really important, and you might come back to this at the end once you've done the grow process and you really understand the objectives and the commitment level. The next thing that you can do in the conversation is understand. You've heard me say this already in this presentation. It is so critical to show empathy and understanding to the actual situation the teacher is in. If you do not have expertise in the space, don't fake it. Go get someone who has expertise or dig into it yourself. Get in the hole, get in the tunnel, be a part of the conversation. Because if you do not have the expertise and you're not relevant, teachers see through that immediately and it's not useful for anyone. I have been out of the classroom for many years. I've been a part of professional development, a part of a partner company, a couple of partner companies. I've done lots of things that are not full-time classroom teaching, and I'm upfront about that when I work with educators. What I have done is go back to the classroom for periods of time so that I can maintain expertise and relevance and authenticity. I went back and got my National Board Teaching Certificate, which is an endorsement program in the United States. I went back into the classroom and taught students both in person and remotely during COVID closures in March of 2020 to earn my ISTE certification. I volunteered in a local school to run a Minecraft club for 5 months every Monday. These are things that you can do even if you're a coach. I was actually on a Clubhouse conversation yesterday where someone said, well, I can't really try that out because I'm a coach. And I thought, wrong answer. Adopt a teacher, volunteer at a school, spend your time somewhere. Get invested in education because we want our coaches to be the people who really know what's up. All right, next. Explore. When you get to look at opportunities and options, which was our O in the GROW model, when you get to explore in the conversation you're having with a colleague, that's giving the person choice, which is so empowering, as we know. We talk about it all the time with students. Let's talk about it with adults. When you explore options, you're giving someone choice. So that means that they get to own the solution. You might give them 3 or 4 ideas, give them time to explore and come back to you before you determine a solution. But that exploration phase of the conversation means that the person on the receiving end of your coaching is bought into the process because they had a chance to reflect and think about it. We're not over here just handing out tools and apps. We're here to really guide someone and be their problem solver, and that takes exploring. The final part of the conversation is to make a plan. I've put a sentence frame on the slide here for you. We are going to, so we can achieve for on, and that sounds really segmented, but it works. So let's take a look at what that might sound like filled in. If I was working with a teacher, I might say, okay, here's what I heard from you today, or here's what I heard this month, or in this email. We, together, you and I, teacher and coach, we are going to try using Minecraft. So we can achieve, what are we going to do? We're going to increase student understanding for learning about ratios on our next mathematics unit. So we have a very crystal clear plan. This is what we're using, this is what we're doing, this is the curriculum alignment, and why. That plan is really important because it puts you both in this laser-focused understanding of not only what's possible, but also coming back to your G, your goal. What is happening here together? So, some personal reflection for you. What makes being a coach so great? I know if you're attending this session, you probably are a coach or you're looking to be a coach. Some people, after they've been in teaching for a long time, they get the opportunity to move into a coaching position. Coaching is incredibly rewarding. I love the opportunity to work with teachers all over the world because I feel like it widens my sphere of influence. My impact web grows. Every time I get to work with a teacher, I know that those students are being impacted, and anyone the teacher talks to is being impacted. So it's this like domino effect around the world, which I love to think about happening. There are some things that you need to do as a coach to think about making your coaching the greatest it can be. The number one thing is support. I'm going to bring my mouse over here. Support. You have got to be in a community of other coaches so that you can trade ideas, so you can encourage each other, so you can help each other along. Join a Twitter chat, join a Clubhouse room, join a group on Facebook. Do something to be a part of a coaching community. And then here are my 5 ideas for how you can be the best coach you can be. The first one is to maintain your relevance. I've talked about that already. You have to be someone who your teachers can go to and know that you're going to have a real-time, high-interest, relevant solution. You are not the person who brings up something from 10 or 20 years ago, unless, of course, it's still relevant. But you need to be in the tips and tricks. You need to be in the tools, learning the apps. The updates come fast and furious. Knowing the curriculum that's in your system, understanding what teachers are trying to do, be relevant. Be the person that people say, oh, she gave me, or he gave me, or they gave me a tip that I could use tomorrow. You also need to be available. When I worked as an instructional coach in a school system, I was so blessed to have an opportunity where my staff said, you can flex your time, because guess what? Teachers need me after school, and teachers need me before school, and principals need me during a workshop day or on a Saturday session. They don't need me in the middle of the day when someone's teaching, unless there's a crisis. So I had the opportunity to bend my hours around in the day so I could be available when teachers needed me most. Not everyone has that wonderful job situation. I credit all of the leadership in my school system for that model. But we do have an opportunity as a coach to show our availability, to be there. I'm sorry, but on Sunday night when someone has a question, or on Thursday morning before class starts, it means kind of being online a little bit more of the time so that the people you're coaching know that they can reach to you and get an answer. It also means being flexible with how you support. Some coaches are a little bit hardlined, in my opinion, on, oh, I don't fix printers. Oh, I don't troubleshoot your app problem. Oh, I don't reset passwords. I'm your instructional coach. And that might work for some people, but it never worked for me. If I wasn't the person who could help them on the spot, I found someone who could, because that earned my trust and my respect, and it also gave them an understanding of, your problems are my problems. I'm sorry that's not working. Let's get it fixed. So that's flexibility in your role. Whatever you can do to be helpful, even if it means just wiping down the tables after the end of the class day while someone talks to you about how their lesson didn't go that great. The fourth thing we need to do is experience. In my school system that I worked in, we actually had a year's requirement before you could be a coach, because we wanted people who were very, very clear in having experience and knowing that in their school system they could give that experience out as planned. The last thing you need, and I'm sorry to tell you this, relentless enthusiasm. You have to be the person in your school system who is constantly cheerleading, who never runs out of energy. And that means you have to take self-care outside of school so that you can be at school and be your very best self, because those teachers need you, let's be honest. Okay, I want you to end with this. You are spectacular. That's my personal hashtag. It was given to me by Stephen Eustace, who's an educator, principal, Microsoft team member in Ireland. And I use it to promote things that I think are wonderful. And I think you are wonderful just for being here. So you can be a change maker alongside me. Let's stay connected. Let's keep in touch. Here are all of my social channels. I'm very active on Twitter. I post to Instagram occasionally. I wrote a book with Kathy Krasnowski called Sail the Seven Seas with Microsoft Education. It's available anywhere you buy books. I also have a newsletter that I send out just once a month. It's very short. It's called Spectacular News. And it's things that I've curated that are those quick and dirty tips and tricks from all sorts of platforms and opportunities that give you a chance to maybe go out and try something new. You can unsubscribe at any time if you get started and it's not useful for you. So thanks for connecting today. I appreciate you joining my room, and I'll see you at the rest of E2. Have a great day. Now that we've finished our session, make sure to visit education.microsoft.com and redeem your achievement code for this session. For this session, our achievement code is right here on the screen. You'll be able to use this achievement code to access points in the Microsoft Educator Center. To find this session on your transcript, click My Profile, then View Transcript in the upper right corner of the Microsoft Educator Center. If you aren't yet an MIE, once you've joined us for 2 hours of content, you will earn your Microsoft Innovative Educator badge.